If you're thinking about buying lakefront property in New Hampshire, there's one mistake I see being made consistently. People start with a house instead of the lake. Winnipesaukee, Winnisquam, and Squam are three completely different buying decisions, and picking the wrong one means living the wrong lifestyle. Today, I'm breaking down the real differences between all three, so you know exactly where to focus your search before you spend a single hour touring homes. The vibe, who each lake attracts, and location. Before anything, you need to understand the vibe and the value for each lake. You can have the budget for any of these and still land in the wrong spot. That's the place to start. The vibe is permanent. You can renovate the kitchen, you can't renovate the energy of the lake. So let's talk about Lake Winnipesaukee. This is a busy, social, amenity-rich place. It's New Hampshire's largest lake, 72 square miles with 288 miles of shoreline, more than 260 islands, and surrounded by 8 towns. Third largest lake in all of New England. This is where things happen. You've got Weirs Beach with the boardwalk, arcades, bumper boats, and the drive-in theater, one of the oldest in America. And Meredith gives you that classic lakeside village feel with dining, boutique shopping right on the water. And also Wolfboro, known as America's oldest summer resort, has a vibrant downtown, local shops, galleries, and free waterfront concerts all summer. And then there's Laconia's Motorcycle Week. Over 300,000 visitors roll into Weirs every June. It's a big deal. And in the winter, Gunstock Mountain Resort is just minutes away for skiing and snowboarding. So this is really a 4-season lake. So who buys here? Families who want action, boaters who want big open water, buyers who like having restaurants, events, and shopping a few minutes from their dock. If you want energy, this is it. But stick with me because there's one regulation on one of these lakes that stops buyers dead in their tracks that most people don't see coming. I'll reveal that in a bit. Now let's talk about Lake Winnisquam. This one's quieter and more local. Real lake energy, this is the one that a lot of buyers overlook. And honestly, that's part of the appeal. Winnisquam is the 4th largest lake in the state with about 4,214 acres, roughly 1/10 of the size of Winnipesaukee. It borders 5 towns, Tilton, Sanbornton, Belmont, Laconia, and Meredith. No boardwalks, no cruise ships, no big tourist infrastructure. What you get is a tight-knit community, summer barbecues, water ice fishing derbies, neighbors who actually know each other. And here's the practical piece people miss. Winnisquam sits right off I-93 at exit 20. It's the most accessible from the highway of all the 3 lakes. If you're commuting or coming up from Massachusetts on the weekends, that matters. So who buys on Winnisquam? Buyers who want waterfront without Winnipesaukee pricing, commuters who need quick access to the highway, and families who want the real lake house feel without the heavy summer traffic. Now let's shift to Squam Lake. If you want private, conservation first, this is the place. Squam Lake is a different category. It's the 2nd largest lake in New Hampshire at 6,791 acres, about 62 miles of shoreline, and more than 30 islands, and almost all privately owned. If you've seen the movie On Golden Pond, it was filmed here. That quiet, reflective feeling you see on screen, that's this lake. There are no commercial developments directly on the water, no restaurants on the main part of the lake, no boardwalks. The Squam Lake Association, founded about 100 years ago, is focused on protecting the natural character of the watershed. They control boat launching from their docks, and there's one free boat launch for the entire lake. And many properties carry on conservation easements or deed restrictions that limit clearing, rebuilding, or dock construction. So who buys on Squam? Buyers who value privacy above everything else. High net worth buyers looking for that retreat, not a resort. If quiet, pristine, and untouched describe your ideal lake life, this is the one. And if you're watching this because you're seriously thinking about making a move to the lakes region, my team and I work with buyers on waterfront properties on all 3 of these lakes every single day. If you're still figuring out which one fits your life, or you're ready to see what's actually available right now, shoot me an email. My contact information is in the description. Now that you understand the personality of each lake, the pricing really gets interesting. The gap between these 3 is wider than most people expect. Price ranges. Okay, so most buyers think lakefront pricing is simple. Bigger lake, higher price. That sounds logical. But Squam Lake completely blows that up, and the numbers make it clear the second you look at them. Broadest range, highest volume. In 2025, there were 85 waterfront sales, pricing from the mid 600s all the way up to 8.1 million. The median sales price came in around 2.75 million. Average days on market, about 26. In 2024, there were 71 sales with a median closer to 2.5 million. So the volume went up, prices went up year over year. Entry level in the mid 600s to low 700s usually means a smaller home, maybe shared beach or condo, or something that needs renovation. The sweet spot for a solid lakefront with its own dock is $1.5 to $3 million. Once you get into Wolfboro, Meredith, or Guilford, that's where you start seeing the $4 to $8 million plus properties, seeing the $4 to $8 million plus for premium properties. And when we get into the difference between these lakes in the winter, it tells you something the price tags never will. Stay with me because that changes how you think about all three. Now let's shift to Lake Winnisquam. This is a more accessible entry point. In 2025, there are 19 waterfront sales. Prices range from the mid sixes up to 4.75 million. The median sales price was 1.5, and here's what that means in real life. For what you spend on an entry-level property on Winnipesaukee, you often get a move-in ready property on Winnisquam with solid frontage and your own dock. That's a big shift in value. But here's the thing that really changes the math on all three lakes. The town you buy in matters just as much as the lake itself. Tax rates vary dramatically, and that can move your annual cost by tens of thousands of dollars depending on the price point. We'll break that down when we get to the verdict. Now let's get back to Squam Lake. Highest price per sale, lowest inventory. In all of 2025, just 5 waterfront sales. Prices range from 1.4 to 6.5 million. The median came in at 5.9 million. Average days on market, 8. In 2024, 6 closed sales with a median of 3.7 million. So when something trades here, it's significant. You're paying a premium for Squam for more than just the water access. You're paying for the privacy, the conservation culture, and the exclusivity. When a property hits the market, it moves fast, days, not months. Buyers have to be ready before they even start looking. So let's talk about what you can actually do on the water because the rules are very different on each lake. Boat access and water use. Here's the thing, the miles per hour gap between Lake Winnipesaukee and Squam Lake sounds small. It's not. It reflects two totally different ideas about what a lake is for. The difference? That's about 45 miles per hour versus 40. On Winnipesaukee, you get full access to the lake and summer crowds. This is a boater's lake. There are around 14 public boat launches spread across 8 surrounding towns. Wakeboards are allowed. Water skiing, tubing, personal watercraft too, with a 300-foot setback from shore for 1 to 2 person watercraft. Daytime speed limit 45 miles per hour. Does it get busy? Yes, especially around Weirs Beach, Meredith Bay, and the Broads in July and August. And that's just the reality on a 72 square mile lake that draws people from all over New England. Wake boats have sparked real conversations about shoreline erosion. But here's the thing, with 72 square miles of water, you can still find some quiet coves and protected bays even on a peak summer Saturday. You just have to know where to go. Now let's talk about Lake Winnisquam. Solid boating, less congestion. It's about 10.5 miles long, so you can actually stretch out and cruise. There are 3 marinas, Adams Marina, Jay's Marina, and Winnisquam Marina. Wake boats are allowed, water skiing allowed. The difference is volume. On a typical summer weekend, you're sharing the water with a fraction of the boats you'd see on Winnipesaukee. That changes the feel completely. Same activities, different pace. Oh, and the tax rate breakdown, that completely changes the total cost of ownership on all 3 lakes. I'll break that down when we get to my final verdict. Now we shift back to Squam. There's 1 free public boat launch on the entire lake. Squam Lake Association maintains 4 launch sites in total and enforces a 25 horsepower motor limit from their docks. Daytime speed limit is 40 miles per hour. Nighttime drops to 20 miles per hour. And here's where their philosophy really shows up. There's no water skiing in designated coves. The rules aren't there to make boating harder. They're there to protect the experience. For the right buyer, these restrictions aren't a drawback. They're the whole point. People who buy on Squam aren't fighting rules. They are grateful they exist. So how you use the water in July matters, but how each lake lives in January matters too. And that's what determines whether you're buying a summer escape or a full-time haul. Year-round versus seasonal. Living in New Hampshire is balancing between what you can do seasonally and year-round. Winter in Meredith Bay feels very different than winter on Squam Lake, and that gap tells you a lot about long-term livability. Lake Winnipesaukee has a strong year-round community. This lake has the most built-out infrastructure of the three. Wolfboro has about 6,400 year-round residents, and that number swells to roughly 25,000 in the summer. Meredith, Guilford, and Laconia all support active year-round economies with shopping, dining, healthcare, and municipal services. Winter here is not quiet, it's active. The New England Pond Hockey Classic on Meredith Bay draws hundreds of teams and thousands of spectators every year. Ice fishing derbies, snowmobiling when conditions allow, it's part of the culture, not an afterthought. And since 2020, remote work accelerated something that was already happening. Who used Winnipesaukee as a summer home are converting those properties into primary residence. That trend is real. On the other hand, Lake Winnisquam has been increasing year-round, and the story starts with I-93 access. Exit 20 in Tilton gives you Tanger outlets with between 50 and 60 tax-free stores, plus Lowe's, Home Depot, Market Basket, and Walmart. Laconia covers healthcare and restaurants. From a drive standpoint, you're about 20 minutes to Concord and about 40 minutes to Manchester. And it's the fastest to Boston access of the three lakes. If you're commuting even part-time, that matters in January. Now back to Squam, which is historically more seasonal. Many properties have started as summer camps and have stayed in families for generations. Holderness has a favorable tax rate and that classic New England feel. Winter still has activity, ice fishing, snowshoeing at the Science Center trails. You're within a reasonable drive to Waterview Valley, Cannon, and Gunstock for skiing, but you need to go in with clear eyes. Some Squam properties sit on private roads, so you need to confirm winter maintenance before you buy. Cell and internet service can be spotty in certain areas. Holderness doesn't have a true downtown like Wolfboro or Meredith. For broader shopping and services, you're driving about 20 minutes to Meredith or further south. And if you're converting a seasonal camp into a year-round home, plan for septic and well upgrades, shoreland and zoning compliance too. Build that into your numbers before you go under contract. Now we've covered lifestyle, water use, winter reality. Let's pull it all together and answer the real question. Which lake actually fits you? The verdict, which lake is right for you? So here we're at my verdict. Most comparison videos end with it depends. Here's the actual answer. Two questions decide almost everything. What you can afford and how many people you want to see. So if you want a full lake lifestyle, amenities, restaurants, social scene, big water, and the widest selection of homes, you're looking on Lake Winnipesaukee. There were 85 waterfront sales last year across every price tier, from the mid 600s for a condo up over $8 million. That kind of volume gives you options. You will trade some privacy and quiet for energy. That's the deal. Now, if your priority is waterfront at a better price, less congestion, and easy highway access, then Lake Winnisquam makes a lot of sense. The median price runs about $1 million to $1.5 million below Lake Winnipesaukee. You're still getting strong boating, clean water, and your minutes to I-93, Tilton's retail corridor, and Laconia's services. That accessibility changes how livable it feels year-round. But if privacy, nature, and exclusivity sit at the top of your list, then that's Squam. Median close to 5.9, only 5 waterfront sales all year. The average days on market is around 8. The culture here is simple. Blend in, don't stand out. Now here's the piece most buyers don't fully run until they're under contract. Property taxes. New Hampshire has no income tax, no sales tax, so the property tax carries the load. And the variation by town is dramatic. Moultonboro, which borders both Winnipesaukee and Winnisquam, sits at $5.33 per thousand of assessed value. On a $3 million home, that's roughly $15,990 per year. Compare that to Wolfboro at $8.36 per thousand, same $3 million home, and it changes to about $25,080 annually, nearly 1.6 times as much. Holderness on Squam is $9.42. Center Harbor is $11.84. Meredith comes in at $10.62. So the town you choose matters just as much as the lake. A lower price does not automatically mean a lower total cost of ownership. And that's something you want to understand before you fall in love with a property, not after. Conclusion. The right lake isn't about the most expensive one. It's not about the most popular one either. It's the one that matches how you actually want to spend your days. So if you're seriously comparing waterfront options in the Lakes region, shoot me an email at adam@thedowgroup.com. Let's figure out which lake is yours before someone else does. And if you want to see what lake life really looks like on the ground in Wolfboro, the town Travel and Leisure named one of the top 2 small towns in America, I've linked a full video tour right here. I'll see you over there.